Hey guys, welcome to another weekly roundup. Got a few nice bits this week, a few interesting bits, and well, a bunch of cool stuff. First things first, well, I say first things first. As always, I'm going to start with what's on Blood Bowl Community, because what's on Blood Bowl Community is literally the easiest thing to look at. Oh, you may have noticed I am beardless. This is because Papa Nurgler sat upon my face. And told me that he loved me. Never mind. Monty Python reference. If you don't get it, you should look it up. It's funny. But you can see I have this wonderful rash here, which is nowhere near as bad as it was. Went to the doctor. It's just dry skin. Occasionally I get dry skin. Yeah. So I've had to shave the beard off, cover my face in cream. And when it's gone, I'll be growing the beard back. Should take me a month, maybe, if that. Those of you who've watched my regular videos have noticed that my beard, whenever it feels like it. I didn't realise how fat my chin had got. I've got to lose weight. A shout out to all those brother Wargamers out there who are suffering from spending a lot of time sitting down at tables. There's quite a few cool bits and pieces at the moment. One thing I'm going to recommend people do look up on the Warhammer community website. They're doing some focuses on the other legions. They've done these before, but they kind of got put a bit on pause for Vigilus and the Black Legion. But because the Black Legion are coming out, because it's going to be a heavy hit for the entirety of Chaos, because the Black Legion are the generic stuff, but you'll be able to take you'll be able to take a lot of their stuff and use some other things. They've got a heretic focus on the World Eaters, which explains what they are, explains to you the Butcher's Nails, which basically, if you wonder what Butcher's Nail is, it's a cybernetic set of implants designed to drive a person into a berserk frenzy. It's something off of Angeron's homeworld, where he was turned into the ultimate gladiator. Rules-wise, it's when you make a successful charge, it gives you one additional attack with each of its models in the subsequent fight phase. So you get an extra attack on that charge, which means that World Eaters can really just hammer it in close combat. And there's more stuff here. Trophy taker once per phase. Oh, I'll show you that. Once per phase, you can re-roll wound rolls or damage rolls for an attack made by this model that targets a character. War-sighted Butcher. After an enemy has completed all of their charge moves, this model can perform a heroic intervention if it is within 3 of an enemy model or 6 of an enemy character model. If this model is within 6 of an enemy character model, it can move up to 6 when performing the heroic intervention instead of 3, as long as it finishes a move within 1 of the nearest enemy character. So that's cool. Allows you to get in the way and save people. World Eater's Slaughterborn. The Warlord bears the favour of Khorne. His murderous prowess growing with each worthy skull. Add 1 to your Warlord attacks and strength characteristic each time he slays an enemy character, monster, or Titanic model. So if your special character kills a Titan, well, hey, you get an extra attack, and that's permanent. Your characteristic that's well, not permanent. That's for the entirety of the game. So that's really awesome. It's showing a bunch of cool stuff, breaking down a bunch of extra specials, so I totally recommend checking that out. And again, that was on the 22nd. On the 23rd, you've got, which is today, I think. 23rd today? 23rd today. You've got Heretic Astartes focus on Emperor's Children. So the same thing, but for your Emperor's Children, which, if you are wondering, are the poster boy for Slanesh. And that's showing That's showing some of the new, some of the new generic chaos models, such as the Havocs, which are awesome heavy weapon looking dudes. It's also showing things like Soul Forge Pack, which is a stratagem. When choosing your army, pick a Chaos Spaceman detachment from your army to be a Soul Forge Pack. No, this is additional stuff. I want to do on Heretical Strikes. Now, they're focusing on the Havocs. The Havocs are new models out. They're announced this week, but they're focusing on how awesome they are and how cool they are. Instead of the heck? Yep, it's got a bit about the Emperor's Children, but then it moves pretty much straight onto the Havocs and how having the biggest and coolest weapons are totally an Emperor's Children thing, which is cool. It's worth noting that I thought there was going to be more to it than that. I'd read the Chaos one, but I'd read the other one. But it's worth noting that obviously coming up for pre-order this week, we've got Abaddon as a spoiler. We've got the new Black Legion generic Chaos Space Marines, which can be converted into any army you like. We've got the Noctilith Crown, or as it's being referred to on the internet, completely not the Stargate. There's no way Daniel Jackson's walking through that thing, which is cool. You've got the books, you've got the Codex Chaos Space Marines. We've updated the Chaos Codex with rules and units from Vigil, Blaze and Shadowspear, so you can get the Chaos Codex updated. Some nifty little dog tags you can also get with it, but a bunch of really cool stuff. And oh, here's what we a set of custom dice. Sorry guys, this is bright, so I'll call it refocus. Which look amazing. You see there the tags tell you exactly what the score is. I'm assuming the Chaos Eye is 6 and the single skull is 1. So, but I will say, so far, the custom dice that GW have been releasing to go along with all these releases have been really amazing. They're limited pretty much every single time. They're hard to get hold of, so if you're at all interested in the custom dice, don't think, oh, I'll pick them up later, because they won't be available later. Get them straight away, because they tend to do them in limited runs. What else have we got? A few more hints from Battle Sisters. Bits and pieces. Obviously, they're bringing it out, but there's the power pack for their armor. There's another chest piece for their armor. Sorry, cracking my leg there. That looks like a piece of scenery with the fleur-de-lis and boob plate, because what you need is boobs on armor. So that frankly looks really cool. Oh, and what looks like a floating lectern from which they can preach their devotion to the Emperor. In case you're wondering what the whole religious side of the Sisters of Battle is about, basically there was a massive religious war where somebody claimed to be the holy will of the Emperor, basically born onto a human form, and he got the Sisters of Battle onto his side. And they marched literally all the way, to Earth, basically, at the head of a massive religious fleet. Fought loads of battles, and were opposed. There was no, they had by no means just one, but they fought a massive great battle. And the loyal forces of the Emperor, one of the custodians turned up, grabbed hold of the head of Sister of Battles, the leader of the Sisters of Battle, their canoness. And the Sisters of Battle were just part of the army. The ecclesiasty at that point had massive armies that, because it was the will of the Emperor and its main religion, they were allowed to have. But they grabbed the head of the Sisters of Battle, dragged her into the Emperor's throne room. Nobody knows what was said, but she came out, went to the Sisters of Battle, turned them around and charged them straight towards this religious leader and killed him. just marched in, just murdered the fuck out of him. And since then, because the Ecclesiasti had a war against the Emperor and against the Empire, but because they are, and it's worth noting there were religious figures on both sides. The religious figures that remained loyal were allowed to keep the Ecclesiasti and allowed to keep the religious mechanisms of the Imperium going, but they were never allowed to have men armed arms again. Now they got by this by keeping the Sisters of Battle, which you kind of think, okay, they've still got an army, but they don't really, because the last time they went to war, the Sisters of Battle feel that the Ecclesiasti betrayed them. So when they need the Sisters of Battle, the Sisters of Battle will go into war. But if at any point the Sisters of Battle doubt their motives, they'll turn on the Ecclesiasti and just kill them and say, right, send the next priest, this one's broke. Which is why they're in the background, they're an all-female army. They're kind of like warrior nuns. And despite the fact the Ecclesiasti turned on the Imperium, they're allowed to keep the Sisters of Battle because the Sisters of Battle, A, prove their loyalty, and B, would turn on any religious leader like that. So they're, yes, they fight for the Ecclesiasti, yes, they are Inquisition, but the Sisters of Battle's primary loyalty is to the Emperor himself in absolute form. So it's a really cool army, and hopefully it'll be really cool when it comes out. In case any of you are wondering why there's such a big thing about it and why we're getting a lot of teasers, basically it's because it's an all-female army with boob plate. They've been known as nuns with guns and bolter bitches, and what GW don't want to get rid of their only all-female army, because again, that's a terrible idea. A, they're a much-loved army, and B, if you've got an all-male army, the only real way to counter that is to have an all-female army. It's only fair. But at the same time, what they don't want to do is bring out an army that is basically S&M bondage babes for 14-year-olds, which the Sisters of Battle occasionally got accused of being. So they're doing teasers, they're doing bits and pieces, and they're doing a kind of slow release. I think basically just to test the waters and to make sure they get it right, because the last thing they want to do is squat the Sisters of Battle. Oh, that's a random thing. If you don't know what that term means, there used to be a race of space dwarves called the Squats. I think it was in the move from 2nd ed to 3rd ed. They went from being, GW went from being a kind of bunch of lads having a laugh to trying to be a serious company. And one of the things they did was make the game very much cooler and edgier and grimdarker. And they couldn't find a way of including the Squats in that new philosophy without them just being kind of a joke army that was funny and lols, because that's what they'd always been. So they just retired the army, much to everyone's sadness. There are a few Squat models out there, some in Necromunda, some in Blackstone Fortress, but the army itself has been destroyed, and the homeworlds of the Squats were annihilated by Tyranids, apparently. Well, in the backstory. So sometimes you'll hear people saying, refer to an army as getting squatted. It basically means the army is just being removed. It doesn't exist in the background anymore, and it doesn't exist on the tabletop anymore. It's just gone. But yeah, there's a couple of other bits and pieces. That's pretty much it for Wargaming Community. But we've got some cool bits and pieces here. Just out of Forge World for Necromunda, you've got the Cawdor delivery bombs. They're pretty cool. I can totally see them also being used by Skaven forces, either in Age of Sigmar or in Blood Bowl. I can totally see them having a use. So there these, yeah. They're these adorable little rats that are also explosive devices, so they're really cool. So if you're a Necromunda fan, they're now available. Plus that, they're little rats. They're £12 a set, so as with all Forge World stuff, not cheap, but usually quite good. I can see them being a fantastic addition to a lot of models. Also from Forge World, because we're getting all this stuff from Forge World, coming in at £20, we've got the new addition to the Nurgle's Rotters at Blood Bowl team, which is a Nurgle Rot spawn, which is basically a Chaos spawn for Nurgle. If I go over to my trusty Blood Bowl Almanac, look at that, bought when it first came out, we can have a look and we can see that the Rot spawns 140,000 gold pieces. Movement allowed to 4, making it one of the slowest big guys available. Tree men are slower, but they're also a hell of a lot stronger and tougher. Well, not a hell of a lot stronger. They've got the Rot spawn has a strength of 5, which is pretty much the strength of all the big guys, with the exception of the Tree man who's strength 6 and the Minotaur who's strength 5, but gets +1 on the Blitz. It's got an agility of 1, which is the lowest agility you can get, so you're not going to be picking up any balls with a Rot spawn. But frankly, if you're trying to pick up balls with a Rot spawn, something's gone wrong. And an armor value of 9. Again, armor value standard to most big guys, respectable. It's unlikely anything will get through the armor, and in the case of fouls, you're more likely to double out than you are to crash. Than you are to crash through that big guy's armor. So it's unlikely you'll get fouled out. When it comes to rules, skills rather, you've got Disturbing Presence, Foul Appearance, both great at avoiding getting damaged. Loner, obviously you get Loner with all the big guys. Mighty Blow, Nurgle's Rot, which is another fun one. For those who don't know what Nurgle's Rot does, if you don't play Nurgle teams, we haven't played against them. If somebody with Nurgle's Rot kills an opposing player, they don't get any of the skills, but they can bring the player over to their side and resurrect him as a Nurgle's Rotter. It's a great way of getting elves, rats, trolls. Well, no, you can't have trolls, can you? Because they're big guys. Anything that's basically not a big guy, doesn't have massive agility, I believe, and doesn't have stunty. So a lot of the, you can get a lot of the linemen and a lot of the sort of generic characters and things like that, and so they're really cool. In theory, you could even get a Nurgle's Rotter War Dance. I'm not sure how that would work. It's also got Really Stupid. Obviously, most of the big guys have Really Stupid or Rooted or something like that to add a counterbalance to the fact that it's such a strong player. It does make them unreliable for tournaments, but I tend to see the big guys played mostly either in fun games or in league games where you can start adding skills to them that will give them rerolls and counteracts on these things. He's got Regeneration, which makes him much more reliable in terms of not getting killed, and he's got Tentacles, which are also another good one. Sorry about the twitching. And for those of you who don't know, I have Tourette's. If I have to deal with it, sadly, so do you. But that's really cool. Not much else. Over on Warlord, they've got their D-Day anniversary offer. For those of you not familiar with D-Day, there was a war, we did some stuff, it was cool. And anything that's going to have World War II type stuff in it, which Warlord games specialise in, you're going to have some kick-ass special offers there. So if you get a chance, head over to Warlord's website. If you're an Imperial Guard player or something like that, that's stuff that you're going to be that you're probably going to be interested in. A lot of cool stuff coming out on their site, particularly if you're an Imperial Guard player. They're bringing out a lot of the Conflict 47 stuff. Conflict 47 is basically World War II if it had continued up until 1947. The technological marvels, the cool stuff they're bringing out continued. It's what they call a weird war thing or an alternative future thing. If an Imperial Guard player, you can see right there, you've got some awesome stuff that will work well for an Imperial Guard army. And again, right there, some fantastic artillery available. With bolt action, they've got some cool stuff like some Indian troops. If you're looking to make some alternative Imperial Guard armies rather than just the straight up standard ones, we know there's some great stuff there. Your cool seas and that test of when I must go. Also, if you are a Warlord fan, they're launching a membership card next week. Where are we? Coming launch the membership scheme next week. packed with cool features, offers and free samples. So wander over their website next week, have a look at what that is. We all know this is an expensive hobby, so anything that anybody's doing that can save you cash and allow you to field an army, got to be worth looking at. And that's yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. I'm sure there's a lot more going on in the world, but hasn't really come across my my feeds in the groups I'm in and things like that. Yeah, I will see you guys next week, and hopefully you found something new or found something you weren't aware of, or I brought something to your attention that will help you play and help you have fun. See you next time, guys. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. I'm not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.